I just got out of the theaters from witnessing Bullet Train on the big screen, and I have some things I want to talk about for this film, guys. So without further ado, let's get into the review. Let's go. What's going on, you guys? The Demigod back on Demigod ET, coming at you with another movie review for Bullet Train starring Brad Pitt. Now, this was a very interesting watch, and I have a lot of negatives about this movie. I have a lot of positives about this movie, and by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how I feel about Bullet Train, and you'll have my official rating for this film. So let's go ahead and jump right into this, guys. So starting with Brad Pitt, the star of our movie, where we actually get a lot of scenes without Brad Pitt, where we're fully, diving into other characters and their backstories and things like that, their relationships. And so with that being said, I really like what Brad Pitt brought to this film. I loved his performance, and we'll touch on the plot in a second. But first, Brad Pitt's character, he plays this mercenary of sorts, I guess we can call him, and he's beginning to have a change of heart and view his life from a different perspective from talks with his therapist. So his entire character is him repeating lines to other characters and a lot of different scenes inside of this film of things that he learned from his therapy sessions and things he's been working on with himself and trying to get other people to see those flaws inside themselves and maybe help them through it with his words. And so we get a lot of funny remarks, comments, and things like that out of this character. And again, let's go ahead and dive more into the plot of Bullet Train. So of course, this film takes place in Tokyo, Japan, and actually, of course, considering it takes place on a train, a bullet train inside Tokyo, Japan, we do visit other places inside of Japan, which I really loved inside of this film because I am a huge lover and admirer of Japan and their culture and their aesthetic, which is all over this film. I love the way this film looks. I love the neon inside of here, the color grading of this film. I love the stylish shots and the goofy action scenes that we get inside of here, the goofy moments that we get between our characters inside of here when they're just having a friendly banter and making, little smart, snarky remarks back and forth at each other. It's great, man. I really loved those scenes inside of here. And again, this film takes place on a bullet train. Now, where our conflict comes into it is Brad Pitt's character goes to this bullet train to retrieve a briefcase, and it just happens to be that a lot of other people on this train happen to be having the exact same goal in mind of finding this briefcase. And they all have their own spin on what they're trying to do with the item. However, that's pretty much the gist of it. That's where our conflict comes in. Obviously, none of them want the other to have it, and so we get crazy action scenes inside of here, really fun fight scenes, a lot of violence, which I personally really loved inside of this films when the hyper violent elements came in here, and just some good, fun, clever moments from our characters. Now, outside of Brad Pitt's character, who definitely is the star inside of this film, we get some good moments from the other characters, some that were meant to have more depth than they actually did, and then other characters who aren't fleshed out whatsoever. However, they're getting a lot of screen time and spending a lot of time with the audience, and we could just care less about them, to be completely honest. In fact, almost every single character inside of here we can care less about, I feel like. But with that being said, this movie still does have a charm to it, and you can't help but just laugh at some of the scenes inside of here. And I gotta tell you, that is a majority of the good that I have to say with this movie. Now, when it comes to the bad of this film, the script, man, the script is all over the place. This whole story and plot is all over the place. It's jumbled, it's mixed up. We'll be talking about one specific thing that we have no idea about, and then boom, here comes this long scene where it explains exactly the information that we need to know. And the movie does this constantly throughout the entire film, honestly, up until the third act. And so from the first and second act, while we're having these fun moments, these fun action scenes, it all seems pointless and useless, and you can care less about a lot of it. I'll be completely honest. The best part of this film is the interactions and the dialogue and the banter between the characters. It is, along with some of the fight scenes if you're into that, like I am. But for the whole first and second act of this film, it feels like it has absolutely no direction. And I find that to be a huge problem and a huge flaw with this film, and really hurts the rewatchability of this film. However, when you get to the third act of this film, I feel like it saves it somehow. The third act of this movie was so well done. It ties a lot of these things that I'm complaining about together a little bit more and makes them a little bit more acceptable before you go ahead and walk out of this film. And the third act of this film has some crazy action scenes, some off the wall moments, and we get introduced to characters that we've been hearing all the other characters talk about and speak about throughout the entire movie. And also, the movie just goes absolutely insane by the end of it. Now, I will say this movie has a self-awareness to it. It's not taking itself too seriously. It understands that it's goofy in a lot of its concepts, and I appreciate that from the movie. It has a sense of levity to it and an easygoing nature to it, and that really complemented and helped this film out a lot, because let me tell you, if this film was taking itself too seriously, we'd be hitting the real low numbers on the rating, all right? And so on top of that, of course, some twists inside of this film. There's actually a decent amount of twists inside of this film, which I'm not going to go over, but some were good, some were and average and unnecessary. But like I said, man, that third act really saves this movie, and it leaves the viewer on a high note and left me with a good feeling inside walking outside of this movie, because before we get to the third act, I was extremely worried about what I was witnessing and watching. However, I left feeling good and like, okay, it wasn't a complete waste of time that I viewed that film. Now, with that being said, would I rewatch this movie again? Probably not. Outside of the stylish nature to it and the banter and funny moments, there's really nothing this movie has to offer you. And with all that being said, guys, I'm just going to go ahead and drop the rating for this film. I give Bullet Train a 6.5 out of 10. It gets a 6.5 out of 10. I still think it's a good watch. It's not a terrible movie. It's not a great movie though, and I would say it's average, and potentially in some moments it reaches that good territory. And yeah, guys, so that is how I felt about Bullet Train. Like I said, the rewatchability is really low here. Do I think you should go out and see it? If you want to go watch this movie, make sure it's half price with the matinee, or other than that, wait till you see it at home. This is not a rush out to see it in the theaters. And yeah, guys, it has its fun moments, but it loses its focus a lot of the time and drags on quite a bit at a certain point. And yeah, I'm kind of conflicted on this movie, as you could probably tell by the end of this review. However, that is how I personally felt walking out of this thing. And so with that being said, guys, I hope you enjoyed this movie review. Please let me know your thoughts about Bullet Train down in the comment section down below. I'd love to know your thoughts, your opinions, how you felt about this. And that being said, guys, if you don't know what I do here on Demigod ENT, I do commentaries, reactions, and reviews. So if you're interested in any of that, you're in the right place, man. Hit subscribe, hit the like button. I drop multiple videos a week on this channel, so you can expect out of me. And if you don't already know, I am the Demigod, the chosen one here on Demigod ENT, and I'm out of this thing, man. I'll catch you on the next video. More movie reviews coming soon. Stay tuned. Peace.